Made for Me, Chapter 28. Georgi kept his word, providing Danielle with contact information for the Asper family home, a caretaking facility for the elderly. He also mentioned that the home would love entertainment. Andre told me you sing rather well, better than many of those on the radio. Danielle pitched Lonnie and Stephen on donating extra food to the home, and they happily agreed. In the meantime, she spent Friday evening making meals in her home kitchen, knowing that as she did so, Lonnie and Stephen and the new staff were doing their best to impress the Zurich food editors. Saturday, she gave her first sailboarding lesson to a woman visiting from France, spending 2 hours on the basics. By the end, the woman was able to stay upright on the board long enough to catch the thrill. That evening, Danielle delivered homemade pies to the elderly home. She also sat down at the piano, playing and singing old American favorites from the 50s and 60s. Many residents sang along to the music. Danielle was home, lying in bed, the television on, and an unread book on her lap when she received a phone call. "We're ready to open!" Lonnie half shouted, her voice exultant. In a rush, she described the facial expressions, comments overheard, and her general impressions of the food writers. Second helpings were requested, recipes all discussed, techniques explained, and the ambience applauded by all. "Danielle, you were so right. Even Andre said so." "Andre? He was there?" "Sure, of course. I told him you weren't going to be present, so he came both Friday and Saturday, helping and observing. He agreed they were all in. My words, not his, but the point is the same. We think they loved it." Danielle was thrilled and said so. "Good, because we want to go celebrate. It's only 8 and I want you ready by 10. Danielle stared at the TV set. The last place she wanted to be was on the dance floor. She wasn't going to have another American Andre first-time experience, nor did she want one. When you have the best, why try for another? "I'm already in bed, Lonnie. You and Stephen and Andre go. You deserve it." A defiant snort burst through the earpiece. "So do you. Get off your butt, get dressed. You can meet me there, or we're going to pick you up. Andre isn't coming, just us 3. You started this, and you sure as hell are going to be a part of celebrating it. And I am not taking no for an answer. So if we come over in an hour and you're in your pajamas, we will stand and wait. We will pick you up in 60. Lonnie then hung up the phone before Danielle could respond either way. At the club, Stephen valet parked and the 3 walked towards the back of the line. Danielle was shocked when the bouncer called her name, ushering her and her friends to the front. Danielle murmured to the large man that she was alone tonight, and he nodded, unclipping the brass ring, waiting until Stephen was through before reclipping it. "Better that way," said the bouncer, motioning her up. Danielle caught Lonnie and Stephen sharing a look. The manager with white spiky hair caught her eye, came over, and asked if she'd like the table by the bar. "I'm alone," she repeated, "although with friends." Danielle looked at Lonnie and Stephen, making it clear she didn't want him giving her favors if Andre wasn't about. "No problem," he said. "This way." Danielle took the unexpected attention with equilibrium, ordering drinks along with the others. Johan saw her and came over, and the group did a round of shots, herself excluded, and then proceeded to the dance floor. "Did you notice the manager making eyes at you?" Lonnie half shouted once they were out on the floor. Danielle shook her head. "You are so blind, it's amazing." After that, Danielle did see him looking at her once or twice, but it wasn't the type of look Lonnie was implying. They were more aware, as though he were looking for her and making sure she was doing okay before turning away. Danielle stayed with Lonnie and Stephen, the threesome only broken apart when her friends started making out. She wandered over to the bar, then glanced up at the cages that were really square platforms with thin metal slats up to the ceiling. It was the one place she couldn't be asked to dance. Up she went, and there she stayed, keeping her eye on her friends until they motioned they were ready to leave. On the way out, the manager thanked her for coming, giving her his card, and told her to call if she needed anything special. "We'll take care of you," he said with a wink. She smiled, remembering her father's comment about what a man taking care of a woman really meant in today's society. Her father implied that she should be a little more grateful for Andre's offer, rather than so scornful. For her part, she felt it was morally wrong for Andre to take on her father's health bills, but that wasn't her real issue. It was also her unease at giving up her independence. She'd seen what happened to women who stopped working. Their skills grew out of date, finding a job wasn't easy, and the peak time of productivity was viewed as history. Sunday night, Danielle told her father of volunteering at the home and giving sailboarding lessons. The hurt was still there, but not so crushingly intense. The love in her heart was like a summer animal crawling under the rock to escape the heat. I do feel a little better thinking Andre was in fact as hurt as I was. And yes, the job is fine, she added before her father could ask more about Andre. Danielle told her father how Ulrich remained overly formal, the stance he'd adopted after the incident, as she now described it, but Lars acted as though nothing had happened. He was business as usual. He accepted my decision, Danielle told her father, the statement interrupted by his coughing. I'm here to work and that's the end of it. As it should be, her father said between hacks. That doesn't sound real good, she commented. The sounds were wet and deep, not dry and hard. She'd gotten to be an expert at the sounds the lungs make and the potential causes. How have your latest results been? Another cough. Fine, you get the reports. Danielle did, but during the last few weeks, she'd only glanced at the summary section. Because they were generally positive, or stable, in the words of the physician, she'd not read much further. To change the subject, are you planning on coming home for the August break? She sighed, another thing she'd blocked from her mind. 3 weeks in August. She would have liked to stay in the country and enjoy the weather and the water. On the other hand, getting back home and seeing her father, riding the waves of the Columbia and walking along the river during the Rose Festival would be wonderful. I've got to buy my plane tickets, she told him, already searching for her computer. She also had to prepare for the grand opening of Stars and Stripes. She called Stephen next to see the response to all the positive press. We might get more customers than we can handle. A good problem to have, she remarked. Not if we can't serve them efficiently or make the food good or fast enough. Keep a positive vibe, Stephen. I'll be there to help. And she was. Tuesday at 5 p.m., she was outside the restaurant, the red, whites, and blues gleaming from the sign outside. The stainless steel and chrome of the bar stools shone, and the red and white striped leather booths were enticing and comfortable. The red tabletops straight out of a 50s drive-in. Listen to this, Stephen said, touching a wall pad. Suddenly, the whole restaurant was filled with the sound of dance music, startling the waitstaff. Tonight it was hip-hop mixture, with Beyoncé pumping through the room. A line had already formed outside, and it was a half an hour before opening. Danielle went to the kitchen, hoping to say hello to Lonnie. It was a scene of orchestrated precision, with Lonnie as the master chef, her sous chefs and other workers quietly and efficiently preparing the dishes. Words were spoken clearly, quietly, and with focus, none more so than Lonnie, who had seemed to rise to the occasion. Lonnie, Danielle whispered, waiting only until her friend looked up to wave and smile, and then Danielle retreated back to the main floor. Hello, said a familiar voice. She'd practically run into Andre, who was standing before her. I'm so sorry, she stammered. I'm leaving soon, he said brusquely. I just wanted to show my support. Me too. I wasn't going to stay long either. Danielle was flustered. She hadn't expected to see him there, but it made sense that he would come. Well, thanks for all your help with the press. It's been really great. Yes, it has, he replied, turning away, but not towards the door. She walked back to the kitchen, biting her lip and forcing her hands to remain open, not clenched, as she walked to Stephen. No way in hell was she going to stay here a moment longer. Stephen, it looks wonderful and I wish I could stay, but I can't. He held her eyes for a moment, words unnecessary. Then he gave her a hug and opened the door. 2 weeks, she thought on the walk home. 2 weeks until she left this place for the safety and comfort of her hometown. Not that it will change a thing when I return, but perhaps my emotions won't be so raw after that. I'll move through my rejected anger phase and into a more positive, healthy, I don't care phase. With that in mind, Danielle promised herself to work more, think less, and spend her time teaching others to sailboard right up until the time she left for vacation. As much as she wanted to drop in at the restaurant, she didn't want to endure another scene like the one she just experienced until she was mentally and emotionally stronger, or at least as strong as Andre seemed to be.